Welcome to AI Dispatch, your channel for the latest AI videos on YouTube. If you don't want to miss these updates, please like, subscribe, and share. This episode from Latent Space features Dylan Patel, founder and CEO of SemiAnalysis. His central argument: Google faces a structural imperative to eliminate its own free cash flow by 2027, not through mismanagement, but through rational response to existential competitive pressure. This analysis examines his framework on corporate economics, infrastructure engineering, geopolitical supply chains, and the class conflict he believes will determine AI's future. Dylan Patel founded SemiAnalysis, a research and consulting firm serving the semiconductor industry's most critical decision makers. Its client base spans leading AI laboratories, hyperscale cloud providers, and institutional investors who require granular intelligence on chip supply chains and AI infrastructure. His analysis carries weight across both Wall Street and Silicon Valley because he operates at the intersection of hardware constraints and market dynamics. Dylan Patel opens with a financial forecast that violates every assumption about how profitable enterprises behave. Google will reach zero free cash flow by 2027. This is not a prediction of collapse. It is a prediction of deliberate capital redeployment at a scale that renders traditional profitability metrics obsolete. Standard corporate logic treats free cash flow as the measure of business health. Companies that generate billions in profit are considered stable and well managed. Patel argues Google will spend every dollar it earns on AI infrastructure, not because management has lost discipline, but because survival demands it. The market interprets this spending as reckless. When Google announced $180 billion in capital expenditures and Amazon announced $200 billion, their stock prices declined. Investors saw waste. Patel sees necessity. His reasoning centers on internal demand signals invisible to public markets. He cites Anthropic adding $2 to $3 billion in monthly revenue as evidence of adoption velocity that justifies the spending. Companies are witnessing usage patterns that confirm AI infrastructure will generate returns exceeding current business models. Google must cannibalize its high-margin advertising business to construct what Patel terms a digital god, or risk complete displacement by competitors who make that trade first. The appearance of financial suicide is actually a calculated response to the innovator's dilemma. This economic logic connects directly to infrastructure decisions that defy conventional engineering wisdom. Data center development traditionally depends on electrical grid access. Power must be clean, stable, and delivered through established utility infrastructure. Elon Musk eliminated this constraint entirely, and the industry is now replicating his approach. Musk recognized that waiting for grid upgrades would delay AI deployment by years. He bypassed the grid by installing diesel reciprocating engines and industrial gas turbines directly at data center sites. This contradicts the clean energy narrative dominating corporate sustainability commitments, while executives publicly discuss solar panels and nuclear timelines. The actual solution being deployed involves burning fossil fuels on site to power the most advanced computing systems ever built. Patel describes this as prioritizing speed over efficiency, accepting environmental trade-offs to eliminate infrastructure bottlenecks. This urgency reflects internal adoption rates. Patel observes within his own organization, SemiAnalysis employs 60 people, including engineers, former hedge fund analysts, and researchers. His hedge fund colleagues, who previously lacked coding skills, now use AI for complex data scraping and financial modeling. When your own team integrates AI so rapidly it becomes essential to operations, the rationale for bypassing the grid to accelerate deployment becomes clear. The desperation to deploy faster exposes a physical constraint that contradicts assumptions about digital scalability. Semiconductor fabrication is limited by construction timelines, not design capability. AI is commonly understood as a software problem constrained by algorithms and electricity. Patel identifies the actual bottleneck as the physical buildings required to manufacture chips. Even Google cannot procure sufficient quantities of its own TPUs because fabrication facilities cannot be constructed quickly enough. This forces an inefficiency where Google, despite designing custom silicon, will purchase NVIDIA GPUs in 2027 and 2028 simply to meet demand. The digital revolution is throttled not by innovation limits, but by the time required to pour concrete and install cleanroom infrastructure. This hardware scarcity extends into geopolitical supply chain dynamics that invert conventional policy assumptions. The mainstream American position supports Taiwan's pro-US Democratic Progressive Party as a bulwark against Chinese influence. Patel presents a counterintuitive analysis. American strategic interests are better served by a pro-China Kuomintang victory in Taiwanese elections. His reasoning separates political alignment from supply chain control. A KMT government reduces immediate invasion risk by satisfying Beijing's political objectives. However, TSMC remains dependent on American banking systems and American semiconductor equipment regardless of which party governs Taiwan. Even under a pro-China administration, TSMC cannot transfer advanced chips to China without violating US export controls. This decouples political posture from material outcomes. The US secures chip supply without the friction of supporting a hostile Taiwanese government. Political alignment and supply chain security operate on independent axes. This framework challenges assumptions about China's technological isolation under export restrictions. Western narratives suggest export controls have successfully crippled Chinese AI development. Patel disputes this directly. China's Kimi K2-5 agent swarms perform comparably to OpenAI's codex. Export controls are failing to maintain a sufficient technological gap. China possesses the most advanced isolated semiconductor supply chain globally and is successfully reverse engineering restricted components. Furthermore, Patel highlights a structural vulnerability in American AI development. Approximately 1/3 to 1/2 of researchers at leading US AI labs are Chinese nationals. The assumption that the US can sever China's access to AI progress ignores that Chinese researchers constitute a significant portion of the intellectual foundation driving American AI. Policies that antagonize this talent pool risk undermining the very capabilities export controls aim to protect. This tension between talent and policy became tangible for Patel recently. The individual managing AI model usage tracking at SemiAnalysis was recruited by Anthropic. Patel publicly acknowledged the departure on social media, half joking that Anthropic should stop poaching his staff. The anecdote illustrates the intense competition for personnel capable of operationalizing AI, a competition that transcends national boundaries. Patel's final assertion addresses the existential risk to AI, and it contradicts the focus of most safety research. Technical AI safety discourse centers on alignment problems and autonomous weapon systems. Patel argues the actual threat is political. The general public despises AI. SemiAnalysis operates across 8 to 10 countries, including the US, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, France, Germany, Israel, Canada, and the UK. This geographic distribution provides Patel direct exposure to political sentiment outside Silicon Valley. He observes that outside the San Francisco technology bubble, voters view AI as a system that consumes resources, threatens employment, and benefits capital owners at labor's expense. They do not see productivity gains. They see water consumption and job displacement. He predicts the winning political strategy in the next election cycle will be explicit opposition to AI. The conflict is not between humans and machines. It is a class conflict between those who own AI infrastructure and those whose labor it threatens to replace. While researchers debate superintelligence scenarios, the friction most likely to halt AI development is populist political backlash. Patel sets 2027 as the decision point. By then, Google and Amazon will have depleted their cash reserves. If the infrastructure investments fail to generate the projected economic value, the result will not be a market correction. It will be the collapse of the most profitable business models in history, driven by a gamble that AI infrastructure justifies destroying existing revenue streams. Whether that gamble succeeds or triggers a political revolt against the technology itself will determine the industry's trajectory. If you're interested in the video featured in this episode, click the link below to watch the original.